This is Off the Break Podcast, presented by Silver Screen Insider.
It's time for Off the Break Podcast, your podcast dedicated to current movie theater news, operations, and insights from the people that book the movies. With me are Kyle and Ken.
Hello again.
May the force be with you.
Welcome back, you two.
It's not quite that day yet.
You talking to me?
Oh, no.
I don't see anybody else, so you must be talking to me.
The references aren't even like a theme anymore. It's just whatever can work.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Oh my gosh, please stop. All right, well, we are back from our little hiatus. We took a spring break vacation to the desert to, social distance alone.
Some of us did.
Yeah, and it was a harrowing experience. We left mountains and snow to apparently encounter more snow in southern Utah. So that was not fun.
There's no place like home.
Gosh. And so yeah, it was kind of a stressful week, but so many things happened in that week we were gone. We got updates on SFOG, the Shuttered Venues Grant.
Right when you guys left.
Right when we left. Finally, real updates on that. And then we got a whole bunch of release schedule changes.
And a lot more came once you guys were back.
Yeah, and then policy announcements. I'd barely begun to get reorientated with the work and everything going on, and then bam, release schedule changes up the wazoo. I'm gonna take the blame for this one, listeners, people out there, because I got really ambitious on vacation, and I was like, look at May, look at these awesome releases, and this is probably gonna stick. And I put in Black Widow dates. I put in Free Guy, Spiral, Peter Rabbit, and Those Who Wish Me Dead. I pretty much filled up May into Quiet Place and Cruella. I had it all gridded out for multiple clients. I was like, then I kind of stopped partway through, and I'm like, no, I should be on vacation. I'm not going to work ahead too much. I'll pick this up when I get back.
And then hasta la vista, baby.
That was the best one so far, Ken.
Invest in a mass delete button from now on. I thought we were over this changes in the release schedule. I really thought we were past this.
I mean, even with or without COVID, there's always going to be a release change. You should know this by now.
Yeah, but we went from barely any small occasional changes to these mass just erasing of the schedules.
There was a few good weeks.
Oh my gosh.
Cody,
now May is just...
There's no crying in baseball. We know how this works, okay?
Oh, I wanted to cry. I was like, not again, not again. Why did you fool me again, release schedule?
Yeah, every time you get too ambitious, all the studios hear about it.
They must.
And
They're
then all of the big changes happen.
She's planning on it. She's going to give us dates here soon. We better.
She never learns.
Never learns. Oh,
No.
Way to go, Cody.
I think we heard her putting it on the schedule.
Cody wants to line up all these film
sheet.
companies and say hello to my little friend.
Vacation was so good to you that you were like, maybe I can extend things out so far that I won't have to work for a few more weeks.
I just felt so good about it. I was like, when I get back, I'm going to worksheet this out and it's going to be awesome. I'm going to be so far ahead and so positive. I had finally gotten really good sleep. It was warm weather. All the things worked against me.
Relax, sleeping well, and after 5 days of release date changes, it's time for a martini. Shaken, not stirred.
I'm getting a Bahama Mama after this podcast. I'm going tropical. I need me a little sunshine.
Let's go back to vacation.
Yeah, I'm going back to vacation mode.
Snap out of it. We're on a podcast here.
Okay. All right. We are. So last week we saw that Sony moved Peter Rabbit out of May into July 2nd. Some of the thought there is they want to capture that 4th of July weekend. And I get it. That's a lucrative weekend. But with all the other changes that then Disney made and stuff after that, they had it like a runway. I mean, they had a clear shot, multiple weeks, no competition. They could have had a family film middle of May that played all the way through June to July. They basically, in my mind, gave up 6 weeks of competition-free, playtime for one holiday weekend where everybody's going to see Top Gun anyways. No one's going to go to see Peter Rabbit.
There's this perfect runway, and they're like, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Exactly.
Move the release.
Yeah. So I'm really hoping that they come to their senses and move it back, because with Luca now going to Disney Plus, which we'll get into later, and the only real kids movie is that Spirited Away from Universal.
Oh,
Spirit the horse movie.
Yes.
Spirited Away is the anime
That's right.
thing from
What's
Spirit, the horse
Spirited
movie.
Untamed something?
Sure.
yeah, I think Spirit Untamed. That sounds right.
Yeah.
It has
But
that,
Spirited Away is something very
That's
different.
right.
but it has the weird animation.
It does have
The
a little...
CG animation
Yeah,
that's a
the
bit too
weird-
rubbery.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a little rubbery. Looks a little cheap. But
The original Spirit movie was great. Hand-drawn
Right.
animation. Good times.
yeah.
Let's go back to that.
God, how old are you? So young. So young.
This new Spirited
I'm but a
kind of
baby.
reminded me of that Princess Sophia TV show where it's like very rubbery and bright colors and like it looks like it should be on streaming. I hate to say that, but
Well,
I'm not going to argue though.
yeah.
I really need a kids movie now that apparently Peter Rabbit, which is going to be an excellently animated film, is going to move into July.
I mean, maybe next week Peter Rabbit will move to May 7th. I mean, that'll be better than the May 14th spot anyway, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's...
Well, it's one more week of of not having any competition because all that there has been was the last kids movie was Raya. How long can Raya possibly go? Sony could have had Peter Rabbit act as as Croods had, where Croods had from Thanksgiving all the way until Tom and
February?
Jerry.
Yeah.
And it just built and built and built and never really lost steam and had legs, as we used to say
Yeah,
in
I
the
mean,
industry.
springtime, you still think of, bunnies running around on, whatever adventures they're on. But I don't see them going on adventures for 4th of July weekend. I don't see that happening.
No.
Yeah. They put it in a 3-week period that has $500 million budget movies.
Yeah.
It's like
really crowded.
What?
We're talking so much about Peter Rabbit now. Imagine all
know.
the other changes that we're going to
Okay.
go into detail on.
Well, that one I have a
That
problem
stung.
with.
Yeah.
That one just didn't, like I said, I feel like they gave up 6 weeks of playtime for one lucrative weekend. For one.
Looks that
And-
way, especially with these other changes.
Yeah. So-
Houston, we have a problem.
Then they moved Venom, Let There Be Carnage from June 25th to September. That's probably an okay move. I thought it was
Yeah.
fine in October, and then they moved it up, and now they've moved it kind of back.
It
so.
was a September release the first time around.
September, October, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
it's,
didn't they move it back to October, and then they moved it up? And
yeah, they did a bunch of stuff
Yeah.
with it, but that's perfect time for it.
Then The Man from Toronto, also from Sony, was removed from September 17th. It's now unset. And In the Heights from Warner Brothers moved back a week, or up a week, from 6/18 to 6/11.
Yeah, which that seems fine. I mean,
yeah, that's a little move. That's a move I'm like, okay, kind of makes sense.
an extra week, I'm sure it'll still play well just as much as,
Yeah.
from a week back. So
that-
not the end of the world.
That was last week's changes. That was while we were on vacation. This week.
And then what happened?
Then what happened? Then the massacre really happened. Okay. Cry Macho from Warner Brothers is now set on October 22nd.
Clint Eastwood Western movie.
Yeah.
I
should
think
be.
that October time is about right for a Clint Eastwood movie. It just makes
Yeah.
sense.
Go ahead, punk. Make my day.
Oh, good timing.
All right. Wrath of Man from United Artists moved back from April 23rd to May 7th. And what they did was they moved into what had been the Black Widow weekend. But
Right.
Black Widow moved back to July 9th and is now going day and date with Disney Streaming Premium. So there will be a premium upcharge. But Black Widow moved back. Now, that one at least is going to be a theatrical, and so you can kind of swallow that one a little bit. It sucks because May, I think, again, Black Widow would had a big run into June
Yeah.
for that, but I can kind of see, after they think maybe after Top Gun, they're going to be able to come in on it.
For Black Widow coming
Yeah.
after. Yeah.
After
That's
Top
probably
Gun.
the case.
And being day and date on Disney Plus streaming it will hurt it. It just will hurt these grosses. And we saw a definite deduction in grosses from Raya, because of that Disney Plus
Yeah, for sure.
premium pricing. Cruella is staying on its weekend on May 28th, but it's now for sure officially day and date with Disney Plus as well. But that's also a premium upcharge.
Right.
And then they took off Luca, that was on June 18th, which was going to be right before 4th of July and play into 4th of July. They took that, and that is Disney Plus only without a premium upcharge.
So similar to what happened with Pixar's Soul, they're doing the same thing for
I think
Luca.
they want a subscription boost, but or they just want to. They maybe want to try to hurt the next couple weeks box office. You just never know about their motives. I mean, their motives when they offer something free on streaming could be to hurt the box office.
Yeah, which is, well, obviously that's just very frustrating if that was the case. But aside from that reason, like I agree, I don't really know what else could there be. I mean, with Soul, we were still in like the midst of like wondering about like how a vaccine's gonna come
LA
about.
and New York weren't open. There was no vaccines.
Yeah, it was Christmas time.
It made sense. But now New York, LA are open. About 50% of the theaters nationwide are open. I mean, across the board, they're open. Capacities are rising.
Yeah.
More theaters open every day. And by the time June comes around, more people will be vaccinated. Everything was like gaining in the right direction. And they took out the family market, which is the most lucrative market right now. That's the market going. The old people are not going. Couples aren't going, but people with family are going right now. And
I mean, box office revenue, I would say like the number one reason why people can make so much money is because of like families going to the theaters. So it's kind of a double-edged sword where like these studios who want their streaming services to work are targeting the family demographics, but at the same time,
they're the ones going to theaters right now. And
you probably could be able to get more money from them going to theaters over, you know, these premium prices or even just these normal streaming prices of what, $10 a month?
Yeah, if you told me in 2019 that Disney was going to hurt the box office, possibly on purpose, we are not in Kansas anymore.
Oh, yeah. No. Well, yeah.
Okay, so Wrath of Man moved into the May 7th spot to take over for where Black Widow was.
Trailer for that is coming on Monday, and there are digital posters available for social media postings.
Yep. So check out the website. We do finally have a one sheet for that. And then Separation from Briarcliff moved from the 23rd to the 30th, so back 1 week. That's a horror film, and the trailer is out now, and you can also check that out on silverscreeninsider.com.
Perfect.
Spiral from Lionsgate moved up a week from the 21st to the 14th. So they took over that Peter Rabbit spot. That makes sense. Middle of May, they're going to have a long run. They're going to get a couple weeks in before Quiet Place. So
yeah,
I think that was really smart. They probably could have even moved up to the 7th and had 3 good weeks before, while theater exclusive, and then gone streaming or whatever they were going to do when Quiet Place came out. So that, I think there's room to move up one more week there. Whether they will or not at this point, I don't know, but I think there's room to move on that.
Sure. I mean, no matter what, it's going to be good for theaters. And imagine if Lionsgate has like a really big marketing push for this thing, and with theaters also helping out however they can market this movie. I mean, you sell, a Saw spin-off, but it has like Chris Rock starring in it of all people. Like imagine the curiosity that could really benefit from you.
That's like a scary thriller.
Yeah.
It's a good role for him, I think.
Oh yeah,
it's something so different.
When I heard this was announced, it was show me the money.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I'm definitely very curious about this one. I'm happy that it's going to still be playing very soon.
Yep. In the Earth from Neon moved from 4:30 to 4:23. So there's been a little repositioning in April on some of these smaller titles.
Yeah.
Bios from Universal moved from August 13th to August 20th, so back a week. Just another little reposition. I think, didn't they move off the 13th to accommodate because Free Guy moved on to the 13th?
That's probably why.
Yeah. And then the Tomorrow War from Paramount was removed from July 23rd, and it's now on set.
And I believe that's the Mark Wahlberg action movie?
Yeah.
That's Chris Pratt, I thought.
Oh, it's Chris Pratt. Okay, yeah. I'm thinking of something else then. Yeah, that one, outside of now knowing it has Chris Pratt in it, I don't have no idea what it's about, and I'm hoping that Paramount didn't sell it.
I don't. Yeah, I'm sure
It's-
this is a production issue,
Might be.
It's Paramount, so
but you never know.
We're gonna say it's a production issue
yeah.
to
At
make
this
ourselves
point.
feel better.
As far as more Disney changes, I talked about Free Guy moving out of May, which is a bummer because again, I think Free Guy still being kind of family friendly would have really like where we had it before. We had a big movie with Black Widow, and then we a couple weeks later had Peter Rabbit, and then we had Free Guy and Spiral, and it was just the momentum was growing. May looked really good for the release schedule.
Yeah,
And
looked normal.
and then Sony had to go and move Peter Rabbit, and then Disney had to go and just machete all of May up. So they moved Free Guy out of May into August. I guess that will work okay. We'll have to see how the end of the summer goes. I think part of that movement might have been because of Europe and South America, just their virus caseloads being so bad and restrictions still going to be strong in those markets that might be an issue.
Yeah, and I think Disney is going to like have this still be like a theatrical only release, so they're wanting to make sure like this worldwide movie with Ryan Reynolds can really sell.
Because that's in the US, that's really not going to work on Disney Plus. So
No, and we've talked about that last podcast. I think we've
Yeah.
brought that up before. But yeah, I think from these Fox moves, they're still going to be planning on having them be theatrical releases, probably because of contracts they can't break. So,
hopefully,
I mean, hopefully, you never know, but that's just my assumption.
yeah. Then The Kingsman moved from the 13th of August and to December 22nd. I really think Disney doesn't know what to do with that one.
It's so frustrating.
I mean, this movie has been done for like 2 years now. It's just been bumped on the release schedule so many times. It got caught up in the Disney Fox merger and it just has never been like released. It's just crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it being on Christmas is the smartest idea. We'll have to wait and see. Like,
I feel like they
throughout
just-
the rest of the year how things shape up.
Do they
but
just not have a Christmas title at all? I mean, what?
I guess not. I'm not really sure now. I mean, I think they still have a Marvel movie coming out in November, but I
Do
don't
they
know
have
if that'll be
Thor?
longer.
Eternals. They
Or
have-
Eternals.
It's Eternals. Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, they have Eternals floating around somewhere.
I think that is the November one then. So I wonder if maybe
So they needed a Christmas title, but I mean,
guess,
they could.
but I just don't see that working as well as what we've seen before with like February releases or September releases. Even
Yeah.
what was this? August? Even August wouldn't have been too bad.
This could have been done in May. I mean, realistically, this would work just as good now. If
The build up from April to May that we had 2 weeks ago
right.
was as good as it gets. The stuff that dreams are made of.
Disney also moved a film called Deep Water from August 13th. They had a lot of movies on August 13th to January 14th. So they had doubled up too much. So there had to have been some movement. And then they
yeah, that
moved
makes sense.
Yeah, I'm walking here.
then they moved Death on the Nile from September of 21 to February of 22. And this, I have a feeling, has a lot to do with all the controversy surrounding Armie Hammer. I mean, he's their romantic lead in that, and he is being portrayed as a psychopath in the media right now. So that probably would not work.
Yeah, Armie Hammer's not having a good year lately. I don't know what to
No.
make of that stuff, but I do think that this could
That
be a
has
part
to
of why
play
it's
into
pushed out
it.
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't something that I really thought of either, but
I see dead people.
you think he's a dead man walking?
If you want more information on that, Google Armie Hammer
Yeah.
Yeah,
Twitter
there-
feed.
Yeah, we're not going to get into that, but there is quite some stuff involving him that's some of it's very wild and some of
Tank in
it's
this
very
movie,
sad.
and it's a good movie. It's an ensemble cast. There's more than just him in it, but
Yeah.
he's so toxic right now that I could see that movie again.
I have to think that in a couple of months, like people will forget about this because there's always something else
Right.
weird happening anyway.
Give it some time.
Yeah, so they're probably just it could move again, but I think by the time February rolls around, like that won't be too much of a big deal. They probably won't show them that much, but
Yeah.
it won't be too much of a big deal.
So what do we do for booking strategies in April and May now?
Good question.
Well, May was going to be our ramp up into, more normal summer, and that's just going to get pushed back now to June. So you're just going to have a lot of weekend only locations, restricted show times, that sort of thing. You're just not going to open up operations in April or May now like you hope to do before. So it's going to be a lot of how you're operating currently. And, with one, maybe if you're lucky, new movie a week in that month.
Mm-hmm.
Theaters are going to have to go out there with all they got and just win one for the Gipper for the next 2 months.
The Gipper?
Yeah.
What's that?
Newt Rockney? The All-American?
I don't know what that is. What movie that is.
That
I've
one
never heard
one
that.
flew over my head a little too.
What? Win one for the Gipper? The speech from Rudy?
No, I'm not familiar with that one as
Oh,
much.
my gosh.
No. I mean, yeah, it's
What
still,
we have here is a failure to communicate.
Yeah, we do.
we're gonna have a lot of people coming after us with that one. I mean, despite like all the Disney movements in May, like I'm still am a bit hopeful for it, just because of things like Wrath of Man and Spiral and A Quiet Place 2.
Yeah,
It's not completely lost with May, but it was really disheartening for Disney to have like these changes happen for sure.
Right. I think Spiral will be a good choice. Obviously, May, the best, most lucrative weekend will be the end of May when you have Quiet Place 2 and Cruella.
That's true.
That's really going to be the start where Black Widow could have been the start in early May and build. Now you're going to have to start with Quiet Place and Cruella and build from there into June. And then hopefully by Top Gun, which is the most requested movie. I really think that that's going to be huge in July. That is definitely still our most requested film. People are interested in what that's doing on the release schedule. That's a true anchor of this summer is that movie.
Yeah, and I feel like Paramount kind of realizes it too. Mm-hmm. So it almost makes me think that, well, I don't want to speak into existence now, but I feel like they will stay hold. Knock on wood, knock on wood for sure, but I hope I didn't jinx that, but yeah.
I feel the need for speed.
There we go. That one I know.
It's not the wrong movie though.
It is, but it's Paramount, so I took it. I took the chance.
Right.
The Quiet Place, there wasn't a whole lot of talking in it.
No.
Yeah, give us a quote from that one, Ken.
John Krasinski.
Yeah.
It's my favorite. I do have a favorite line from the original Top Gun, but I don't think it's appropriate for the podcast to yell at a kid every once in a while.
Is it safe?
In an opportune time.
Just go rewatch the movie and you'll piece it together.
Goose is such a good character.
Here's Johnny.
Oh, God. Okay. All right. So
I'm just going to keep throwing them out there if you
do
these non sequiturs.
It would be nice if you added to this as a booker what your booking strategies would be.
There is nothing to book. It's just like we were dealing with in February. We had to wait for Tom and Jerry, and then picked up with Raya and Chaos Walking, and in some places Boogie did great.
Yeah, Boogie
and we
did
had
do
all
great.
this to go off of, and now we're in a desert again.
Yep.
I mean,
feast or famine.
We were in the oasis, and it
Yeah.
dried up, and now we're back in the desert again, walking to our next drink of water.
Which is funny because you guys were in Utah.
Yeah, that's right.
The irony.
The irony of that. There's more water in Utah while we were there than there is this release
On
schedule.
the release slate.
Yeah. No, I think May's going to be more of a struggle than right now is because we, like Ken said, we have had that momentum and those surprise hits. Like Tom and Jerry actually was a surprise hit and has done really well. It's upheld really well. The terms are great. You're making money off of it. Raya was a little disappointing, but it's still bringing in the family crowd, which is lucrative for the concession stand. So that's all been really good. April we'll have Mortal Kombat, and that's not going to be too bad. And then there's a few other titles there in the end of the month.
Yeah, we've shown reasonable grosses for the time that we're operating in. If you build it, they will come. Like, we're allowed to open.
If you play it, they will show up.
Exactly.
So, but May is going to be a little bit more challenging in that I feel like the titles aren't as strong until you get to the end of the month, and it's really just trying to get to that end of the month. Now, the Academy Award titles, which normally are like kind of February bread and butter, January, February stuff, they're just not working for us this year. They're very weak. Nomadland is winning all these awards, but theatrically, it really underperformed for us, even for an upscale title with such positive,
Yeah.
reviews and stuff. So that one's not doing great. Minari, which is getting a lot of positive publicity and reviews, is just, that one is a tough sell in a lot of our markets. It's just also not something that we can. It has really great terms though, so I've been really trying to put it in places. It's just you got to be careful, you know.
The art crowd isn't out and about right now.
They're not. They're older. They're upscale, so they usually have more means, and they're staying home. And that's so the Academy Award stuff's not, unless it captures a cultural thing like Parasite did last year, where it went beyond just the Academy audiences. It's not doing anything for us. I think everybody's schedule's thrown off too, because we got nominations in March and we're going to have awards in April. And that's such weird timing that I don't think it's just on anybody's mind.
And usually every year there's always one or two films not only have cultural impact, but just commercial viability to them. I mean, 1917, Green Book, those are, they were Oscar contenders, but they were a bit more commercial. They weren't as artsy as like a Nomadland is right now, or the rest of this year's films for that matter. Yeah,
the only one that worked for us commercially was Promising Young Woman. That one actually performed for us, and and that one I think is one you could, if you haven't played it, pick up and get some traction off that. But I would just wait. I just wait to see what actually wins and pick those up, because right now there's not enough buzz, there's not enough promotion of the nominees. So I think you just have to wait to see what wins and then pick that up from there.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
And if it's Nomadland, I don't know what to tell you.
I think
it's gonna be tough.
For Promising Young Woman, maybe try and hope that
Carey Mulligan wins.
Carey Mulligan, or adapted original screenplay. I think it's nominated for that. One of those two. Hopefully you can bank off of that.
And I have breaking news for the podcast today.
Ooh,
breaking news!
Haven't used that one in a while.
Yeah.
I talked to the salesperson at Netflix. They are going to be offering a combo drive of all their nominated films.
Ooh,
for this year's nominated films? Okay.
Which is a first for Netflix to offer a combo of anything.
Yeah.
Taking advantage of the market, I guess.
And the terms were way more than reasonable.
Oh,
which is awesome.
That's
terrific.
Good. So what are some of their nominees? Like Mank?
Mank, and
Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
That was for Best Actor. Chicago 7 is the other Best Picture.
Aaron Sorkin's movie. Right.
Those two, and then
that's not a bad.
No, it works, and there's no print count.
Right.
That's my favorite part of this time of year. Is like, oh yeah, we'll take it. I mean, how many places do we have? How many places added Parasite after it got announced last year?
Yeah.
1,000. They had 3 people on staff over at Neon. It was like we were just shoveling dirt on their coffin. It was like there was no way. We were getting confirmations back Friday afternoon for Friday bookings.
Yeah, just hoping that it was going to be good.
Yeah, and it played well. I mean, it was a different time when we could count on these films, but it's nice that they've all worked with us on terms. We've seen everything's been very reasonable for these contenders.
I mean, we were just saying like this year's crop isn't that great to play, but I mean, with Netflix offering that, like you still have to try and take the shot.
Yeah, it's just tough.
Yes.
I mean, you have the screens, you have the room. It's especially in a bigger complex, you have the room, but it's like, do I play something that I really risk not having anybody show up to? As harsh as that sounds, we've had even, like good films like Raya have no shows at certain times. Like, do you put something in there that legitimately could have a no show and incur the cost of like heating, electrical, operations, labor, payroll, all that, incur that cost for that showtime and have no butts in seats? And that's coming to the realization that sometimes a dark screen is better than just throwing something up on the screen.
Yeah, you do make a good point with that.
And that's what we've had to weigh so many times on these bookings, and it's hard because on the one hand, you're begging the film companies for product. You're like, please, we need something. We needed a Black Widow in May. And on the other hand, you're like, but I don't want just anything. It's got to put butts in seats. And that balancing act is really hard right now.
Keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
So That's kind of it for the booking strategies. A lot of the same, limit operations, pick and choose very carefully what films you bring in. And I don't think you're going to be able to rely on Academy stuff as much, although a lot of it is available and terms are good. So just be careful with it because you don't want to have any no-shows. And there's, just hope that the films stick in June so we can start this momentum. I feel like it's a race and the starting line keeps getting pushed further and further down. And then we just kind of have to walk to it and get ready. And then it moves again on us. And it's frustrating.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if anyone out there, if your theater does decide to play these Netflix movies, and if you can, SilverScreenInsider.com does have some assets for those Netflix movies, like Ma Rainey's and Trial of Chicago 7. And that could be a good start in case you do want to try and play them during the Oscars season. Use that for like advertisements, possibly. Hopefully we can get more. We'll see about that.
Benari, we've got assets for. Yep. Nomadland, we have assets
Promising
for.
Young Woman, too. A lot of awards assets from the Focus Features, especially.
They were good to us.
That was a perfectly fit in plug, Kyle. Here's looking at you, kid.
I'll take that one because it was a compliment.
So yeah, so it is, Kyle. I think you're completely right. We on SilverScreenInsider.com, we do have a lot of these assets for these smaller titles, and it's definitely a benefit because that's hard. Finding that stuff out there is really a challenge right now. It's nice and convenient to have it in one spot.
Yeah, totally.
So, what are we gonna do about money? How are we gonna make the moolah if there's no movies coming out?
How are we gonna do it, Cody? Because I sure don't know how.
I'm clueless. We're gonna get a PPP loan, and then we're gonna get an SVOG loan,
like both
grant.
Of them.
Yes, we're gonna get both. We can do both now.
We're taking it all.
We're taking it all.
Greed, for the lack of a better word, is good.
Good.
So, PPP, you can get your second draw of PPP, and that can work as like a little bridge funding into the SVOG. While we were gone, we found out that SVOG applications are going to the portal will open on April 8th. So mark your calendars, April 8th. Get all your documents ready. This is it, people.
They're totally listening to this podcast. They knew you guys were going to leave, and they knew when to drop that. I'm officially on board with that.
I'm going to blame theory. NATO. They needed it because they knew we were better at the podcast explaining what's going on than they were.
Shots fired. Anyway, keep going.
Okay, so, yes, applications, April 8th, the portal will be up and running. Let's all cross our fingers that this is like it. Now, that's just when the applications can start to be submitted. That's not an awards date or anything like that. So, with the way that the whole application process is taken to build and get going, I can't imagine how long it's going to take to actually get the money. But this is the step in the right direction. So, PPP loan application deadlines were extended through the, I think the end of March or into April. I think it was the end of March. They were extended. No, it was past that. So I think it's end of April now that you can apply for PPP.
Okay.
And so if you haven't, definitely apply for that. Get a little bit of funding. You just deduct that PPP amount from what you apply for SVOG. So if your loan or your grant for SVOG is $100,000 and you get $10,000 PPP, subtract it and you're applying for $90,000.
All these acronyms flying around. We've got a classic "Who's on First" situation going on here.
Yeah. So, I did get to see a preliminary form of what the grant application is going to look like. A lot of it is just yes or no questions on eligibility. Like, are you a corporation, a partnership, an LLC? Are you applying because you're a live venue operator, theatrical producer? They kind of pigeonhole you into one of these categories. So we would all be motion picture theater operator. And then after they go through that, they have some specific questions about how you plan to apply the money. So they have a kind of a proposed budget. So have an idea about payroll costs that you want to spend with this grant, rent payments, utility payments, scheduled mortgage payments, any debt payments. on indebtedness incurred in the ordinary course of business prior to 2020. Because remember, if you took on a loan, say to reseat the theater before February of 2020, you can use SVOG to help service that loan and that debt. So this is so much more helpful than PPP. Any expenditures that you had for worker protection, so all the plexiglass expenditures, all the like mask stuff that you've had, hand sanitizer, all the employee training, all of that stuff you can write off. So get your receipts going for that. Any payments to independent contractors. So if you happen to have a film buyer and you're behind on their payments,
we'll just gloss over that.
Do not leave them out of this.
Or you're listening to the podcast and you're ready to re-up or add a new subscription to Silver Screen Insider. Now's the time.
Now's the time.
Get that check and get it done.
And then any other ordinary and necessary business expenses that may include supplies or equipment. So don't forget that your concessions, your janitors, all of those secondary services in your complex. You are able to use SVOG for all of those. Any administrative costs, including state and local taxes and fees. So property taxes, you can use SVOG for that. Any operating leases in effect as of 2/15/2020. So if you're behind on some lease payments, you can use that. Insurance payments, advertising, production, transportation, any travel expenses. Apparently, you can use SVOG for. Although, who has any? We didn't go anywhere.
Wasn't everything shut down?
We were all stuck in our homes.
The 2 weeks everyone was
I feel
trapped.
like they're mocking us with that with that one.
They're like, hey, wouldn't it be fun if we added this in? Oh, I'm just going to do it anyway.
And then any capital expenditures related to producing a theatrical live performing production may not be the primary use of the funds. So keep that idea for a budget in mind. I don't think you have to stick to this. It's not set in stone. I think they just want a preliminary idea of what you're going to do. They also want you to fill out what your fiscal year 2019 each month revenue was, and then get in 2020, and then the current year to date of what you have. So have that monthly revenue broke down, because it looks like it's monthly here on this sheet.
Right.
And then unfortunately it's a lot more yes/no questions. And then if you say yes to any of these, then you have to produce the documents. So I would really go back and check that SBA SVOG grant checklist, documents checklist.
Yep.
We have it on SSI. You can also get it from the SVOG grant site on SBA, but check that, because that document list pretty much mirrors what's in this application. They really, if you have permanent fixed seating or a dedicated auditorium, they're going to want a floor layout. They're going to want to know that you have, 75% revenue loss. So they want tax returns. They want any contracts that you have to show that that you contract out for, say, your film rental dues and stuff like that. Your film rental. They also are going to want any websites, social media pages, and advertising you do to show your show times. So I would, from now until then, I would be taking screenshots of any past social media pages that had show times, any printed ads that you did, all of that stuff. I'm sure your website has changed multiple times since then, so you probably can't, unless you can go back and somehow screenshot, like in the Google Wayback thing. But
that's a good point.
I would just take screenshots of your sites. You will have to give them URLs to all the sites and social media pages, so keep those on hand for that. But just inundating them with documents isn't a bad thing either, and a bunch of screenshots showing that you do have showtimes, ticket prices, that sort of thing, I think will be very helpful.
Get the proof.
Yeah, get the proof. And it's pretty simple. I think there's like maybe 40 questions, and there's only like a couple that really actually apply to theater operators. So the 40 questions are for all of the whole application, but the ones that really only apply are the first few about if you're eligible for the application, and then there's like 2 or 3 about being a movie theater operator. I don't think that film buyers are going to be able to get in on this, unfortunately, after looking at the application and the questions they ask. I don't think it's going to work for film buyers, but it definitely works for movie theater owners and operators. And
indoor movie theaters.
Indoors, yes. I should
big
say.
distinction, yeah.
Big distinction. You're not allowed to do drive-ins unless for some reason you have permanently affixed seating and can prove it in a site plan. So if you have permanently affixed bleachers or bleachers in the back of the drive-in that are so cumbersome you might not be able to move it, that's a really great area of wiggle room. But I don't think your drive-ins are allowed for it.
Do you think there is like one drive-in theater out there, but instead of cars, it's just like old high school bleachers? Like for some reason their high school took out the old bleachers, and then they were like, well, I guess we'll take it. Like, do you think that's...
There could be some of that.
Maybe. I don't know. Did I strike a gold mine? Maybe.
A new SSI venture, maybe.
Is that it for SVOG updates?
Yeah. Just get all your stuff.
Do you want to stretch and give a woo?
Woo woo!
Because we finally have
we're so
information
close.
and forums and...
Yeah.
What was that?
Woo woo!
I'll have what she's having.
I'm a woo girl. I'm a cool mom and a woo girl.
I'm cool, I swear. My kids love me.
So yeah, that's awesome. NATO is SBA will be doing a how-to webinar, I think, on the 30th or the 31st. We'll post an announcement about it on SSI and on our social media links with a link to register for that webinar. But SBA will be doing a how-to application webinar that everybody should probably be signing up for and going through. Just make sure.
But the whole process is relatively straightforward. We just want everybody to be on it.
Yep.
There's nothing extra you need beyond what you have running your business.
Right.
It's elementary, my dear Watson.
And then
Perfect.
and then there was just, some interesting news. Cineworld, which is the parent company of Regal, and Warner Brothers announced that they're doing a 45-day windowing deal. So it really looks like we're going to coalesce around this 45-day window, which I'm really happy for. Like I really thought it was going to be, less.
Much less.
After Universal and AMC came out with their 21-day window, I was like, oh no, we're never going to see 30. And that was my lowest goal. But I was very hoping for 45-day window.
Yeah.
And it looks like that's where we're going to get. But that windowing deal doesn't start till 2022.
Right, after they're done with this 2021
I bet it'll start with
HBO
Dune.
Max.
I bet it'll start with Dune.
No, when I saw 45 days for Warner Brothers and Paramount, my precious, my precious window.
I know, it's coming. It's coming back.
Do you think Universal's about to follow the same thing? Do you think they're like, everyone else is doing 45, maybe we'll bump it up to
there's
that
no
too.
collusion in the film industry except for DCI and getting rid of the Paramount decrees and how everybody's classics come in at 35% or no collusion there. Everything way above board.
No, but I mean...
So you're saying there's a chance.
Kyle's trying one. Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown.
I don't think that this means that they're going to move away necessarily from day and dating. I just think that what it does is it offers the opportunity on big films. Like they could have done Godzilla on a 45-day window and probably been great at it in a normal year. So I think it just gives them that opportunity on good films. So we'll have to see how that goes.
But if we get a window, seize the day, boys. Make your lives extraordinary.
Suicide Squad, is that this year or next year?
It is this year.
So I wish it was under the 45-day window.
It would be, that would be perfect for it. Maybe Dune with a D. Maybe that could be the exception. Heck, even Mortal Kombat would have been great.
Space Jam.
I found myself not as excited for this trailer after the film after watching the trailer, only because I saw the Mortal Kombat trailer 3 weeks ago.
Ooh.
Well, let's get into it. A trailer roundup.
Suicide Squad trailer dropped today, Friday. You can check it out, at silverscreeninsider.com. Everything's just there that you'll need.
It is. It's just there.
Crazy.
We have a trailer. It's awesome. I watched the trailer and I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I am kind of with Ken. I think I really liked the Mortal Kombat trailer more. It got me more jazzed.
Sure.
Maybe it was more of the blood cloud splatters, but I was just like, whoo.
A lot more from that than in this
one-
one, which even this one had quite a few.
You know what my favorite part of this Suicide Squad trailer was? I really liked John Cena's character. I felt that his comedic timing in the trailer was great.
Yeah,
that
totally.
His weird looking character is in it like a Captain America knockoff situation.
Yeah, like he thinks he's Captain America, but he's actually doing like evil stuff, but he
Yeah.
thinks it's for like the good of America or something.
Liberty.
Yeah.
I loved that angle. It came out really funny in the trailer, and it was a red band trailer, so there was some dirty
Blood
jokes.
and dirty jokes
It was
and swearing.
So it was more of a dirty joke, like swear trailer. There was with a little bit of blood. Mortal Kombat was all
Just
violence,
violent and
blood.
and organs ripping out. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I think Mortal Kombat's going to be what we call like a harder R, but just purely off violence and gore, like pure violence,
Right.
Intense violence. This will be an R because of language and dirty jokes and that sort of thing. And I think you feel the difference in the trailers that way.
Definitely. I mean, it's going to be Guardians of the Galaxy with the R rating, and that's exactly what Warner Bros. Wanted.
Oh my gosh.
That's what they wanted since 2015 or 16 when the first one came out. And They
Yeah.
had no idea what they were doing
No,
with it.
this one, just the dialogue in general was so much better. The
Yeah.
jokes landed. They were funny.
Yeah. What did it say from the legendary and crude director of
James
Guardians
Gunn.
of the
Yeah.
from
For the
James
mind
Gunn? Yeah.
of, yeah.
The crude mind of James Gunn. That's what it was.
It was really
It was
funny.
awesome.
And Harley Quinn's great. She looks like she's in form, but I liked the shark guy. Like,
Yeah, the shark.
where he's like
voiced
nom
by
nom and he eats the guy.
he's voiced by
I laughed
Sylvester
so hard at
Stallone.
that.
He's gonna
Yo,
be
Adrian.
a perfect pairing.
Yeah.
No, he's gonna be the next. Well,
Groot.
the next Groot, but maybe not for kids necessarily. But
Yeah.
it'll be about the same thing. There'll be plenty of people that will like it just as much.
Yeah.
You're
No.
gonna eat lightning and you're gonna crap thunder.
But did anyone else watch the Separation trailer?
Yes. I watched it and I don't really like horror movies, so those trailers are already hard for me to watch, but the idea that a mother is coming back somehow in demonic form to, like, I don't know, terrorize not only her child but her husband that was too much for me. I was like, no thank you.
Yeah, I read the synopsis before watching it, and it was something along the lines of a father and daughter lose like their mom, and I'm like, well, there could be something there. And then I see that she's returning as like a demon clown type thing, and
like
I'm like, you got me out of it. I don't think that's a pairing that doesn't quite work. And I'm sure there's gonna be some scene where it's like, well, you see, we found this ancient book to where if someone's mom dies, they turn to a clown, something like that. And it's gonna be, I don't think it's gonna work. It's gonna be dumb.
Kind of like the
Yeah.
premise of the original Suicide Squad, where they found a book and she turned into a ghost.
Oh my
demon.
gosh, it's exactly like that. I can write movies too. See?
Except with a $5 million budget instead of a $500 million budget.
Yeah.
That's
No.
exactly, yeah, that's,
It just
Perfect,
looks like a low grade horror film.
yeah.
And those do great. I mean, they're just a quick
You have
flash
a
in the
built-in
pan.
audience
Yeah.
for those. Those are
And it
2
comes
week
a
minimum, maybe a third week, and you're excited that I got to keep it, got to play it an extra week, and it lasted.
2 weeks and done on that.
Yeah.
But it does come after Unholy. So we are and before Quiet Place. So you are in Spiral. So you are going to get a healthy dose of horror films for April and May. So,
Exactly what we were looking
So
for.
you're going to get Unholy, and then you're going to get Separation at the end of the month, and then you're going to get Spiral, and then you're going to get Quiet Place.
At least April will be like the setup for the horror movies. So then when May
Mm-hmm.
comes with Spiral and Quiet Place, they'll be like, all right, I'm ready for the big leagues now. I'm
Yeah.
ready for,
Ready for-
I'm ready for something new from the horror film. So
Well,
yeah,
Right.
If Unholy doesn't get that horror fan, then Separation might get them. And if Separation
Right.
doesn't get them, Spiral covers
I think
everyone.
I think it
So,
depends
sure.
on the
I mean,
rating. Is
just
Separation
boom, boom,
going to
boom.
have PG-13 or is it going to be an R? Do we know yet?
I don't think we know quite yet. I'm gonna guess it's PG-13.
Because Unholy is PG-13,
Yeah.
and I
Yep.
feel like that actually works in its favor. That
And Spiral's just such a big franchise that
Yeah,
it's
the
gonna
Saw
it can pull
franchise.
in more, and obviously the Chris Rock, Samuel L. Jackson angle.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
For sure. Well, I think that covered everything,
did
right?
cover
We
it
caught up
all.
on the last 2 weeks. Excuse me.
I did not regale you with our harrowing tale of being stuck on the interstate for 4 hours in snow with 2 children, 5 and 7.
I'm sure there's a lot of
was
people out there
scary.
that are like, I pray for you.
I know. It was,
Buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
yeah.
I hope you yelled that as you entered the snowstorm.
It was an
Very
epic
little snow.
wait in the car. It was an epic wait. If you live anywhere where there's snow, this is the least amount of snow you can get. And
To shut things down.
There
We were
were
like,
accidents
what?
everywhere. Trucks
Yeah.
turned over, cars in ditches, a semi-trailer ripped in half.
Yeah.
And it was literally a half an inch of snow.
It was, no, I would say it was like a hand depth. So, like 4 inches maybe of slushy wet snow.
I know,
Yeah.
but they had snow plows that were out working.
Yeah. I know, I don't get it. Poor Southern Utah, they don't know how to drive. It's just all I can say. There's just so many cars in the ditch, and they closed down a section of the interstate, and we got caught in that. But luckily, we don't give our kids iPads very often. We loaded them up with brand new games just for this trip and just for an
prepared.
emergency. And we had, when the snow started flying, we got off at this little town, went to the bathroom, got dinner, brought the iPads out, and we got stopped on the interstate 10 miles outside this little town.
You're like, perfect.
I don't even think the boys noticed.
Oh, no way they did.
It was me. It was like torture. I don't do well sitting in a line.
Yeah.
I don't do well. I'm not patient. I'm not a patient person. It was 4 hours. I was like, okay, I can do 1 hour.
Weren't able to fix your scheduling of all the movies that got moved.
No, I
Nothing
couldn't-
to do.
I couldn't do anything. I had to play games on my phone until, they required you to pay money. And then I was like, God, this game's gone. And I tried a new one, like Solitaire. And then all of a sudden, Solitaire needed me to buy coins to keep moving on. I'm like, oh, Solitaire's
out.
gone. What did they do to Solitaire? What happened to free games on your phone that you could just play?
You should
Not
just
anymore.
You should have just brought a deck of cards. Do it on your lap somehow, I guess. But
Yeah, I should have. That's a good idea. Emergency deck of cards, Kyle.
Yeah.
Keep it in the truck.
there
now.
you go.
Nobody puts baby in the corner or the passenger seat of a pickup truck.
And I think Ken was stressed out because he's like, she's gonna blow. Like, she is gonna freak
He
out.
wasn't
have a
stressed by
meltdown.
the weather or by the traffic
was
or
like-
the conditions.
Love means never having to say you're sorry, Cody.
It was a ticking time bomb sitting right next to him that he was like, we're all gonna die.
He's just yelling out the window, please get this moving.
Yeah. I mean, and everybody else was losing it. I saw a guy get out of his car, go to the side of the road. I'm like, oh, great. He's going to go to the bathroom in front of everybody. No, he just built a snowman in the snow. And I'm like, oh, buddy, I know. We're all there. We're all losing it.
Do you want the truth about how I felt about you in the car?
Yeah.
You can't handle the truth.
And that's where I'm going to do my plug because that was
Okay.
too perfect. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of the Off the Break podcast. You can find us on all podcast platforms and over at silverscreeninsider.com. And be sure to check out that website if you are needing marketing materials to promote the upcoming movies for your movie theater. We got a whole lot of information, got a whole lot of assets for a lot of past and future movies coming out. So head over there if you need that sort of marketing assistance.
Check out the announcements for the SBA checklist and make sure you get all your documents in order. April 8th is going to come by really quick.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Rosebud.
Bye, everyone.